Dr. Anne Marie Wade.
My name is L.A. Roberts.
So my name is 𝐿atoya Buchanan.
I'm Shonda Smith. Happy to be here today. I'm here to talk about my chapter in the book, Against All Odds. Super excited to be a part of this collaborative anthology with so many amazing best-selling authors now.
I am a nurse practitioner and a certified transformational health coach.
I am the founder of 𝐈𝐼𝐼 Global, where ordinary people with extraordinary stories change the world. And I am here today with co-authors of Against All Odds. We co-authored it with Lisa Nichols, and we just did an amazing panel discussion and a book signing, and we're still going.
I'm a board-certified family nurse practitioner. It was life-changing to be able to collaborate with Lisa. I had a mentor as a teen that helped me whenever I was struggling during that time. And so I've been looking for a mentor now that I've grown older and I have children, of someone who would recognize the purpose in me and encourage it and not try to make it into what they wanted me to do, but in who I was created to be. And that person has become Lisa Nichols.
Lisa she's the #1 requested speaker in the world. And so just learning to be in her company and learning her styles and her techniques has made such a difference. She has influenced me I never thought I wanted to speak. And now I have that desire because it's almost like I found my voice. So all of the authors worked independently. It wasn't a collaborative thing. So we had no idea what our stories were. But once the book was published, then we got to read everybody's story. And what was amazing was that there was a similar thread throughout all the stories, but it also made you bond with these other women and men, because there are a couple men in there, because their stories are so touching and so amazing that they went through all this rough times and was able to not let it keep them down, but to rise above it.
I started following Miss Lisa Nichols. Well, she's Mrs. now. I started following her about 8 years ago. I was a stay-at-home mom at that time, so I didn't have the income that I wanted to invest in myself. But at some point, I was able to spend a few $100s and take a few of her modules. But the opportunity to meet her in person started last year. Last year in September, I had the opportunity to be a part of her breakthrough retreat in Mexico. And that blew my mind. It was transformational. It was my first time traveling internationally. From there, I had the opportunity to actually make another investment in sharing my story.
So what made you want to share your story in Against All Odds?
It was necessary, and it was something that I could not sit on. When you read my story, it is affectionately about my papa, and it was just something I could not possibly keep to myself, because so many people can relate to the loss of a loved one or the loss of anything, because I don't want people to get it confused. Just because you haven't had the loss of a loved one doesn't mean you haven't lost anything in particular, a job, a marriage. Some people are dealing with that. Children, just leaving the nest. And so, yeah, that's what it's all about.
I tell you, the biggest challenge that I face working on this book is the courage to share my story, because I didn't think that my story meant anything. I thought it was a personal story for me, and who is it going to, who wants to read it? And so that was the biggest challenge, is getting out of myself and stop owning that story as if it just belongs to me, and learning that the story my story can inspire, can influence people to do something better with their lives.
So anytime you attempt to do anything new outside of your normal, you are going to experience fear. And I believe a lot more people would step out and do things that they desire if they recognize that fear is a part of the process. It's step one. Once you feel fear, it's something that you should do. And for the person who chooses to take on that challenge to overcome it, you take that first step out, because that is the only way that you are truly going to be victorious against any odd that comes your way, against any circumstance that comes your way, is to step over that fear.
You know what? That's difficult. This is my 4th book. And so with this, I believe the challenging part was doing it on a level and leveraging the experience with Miss Lisa Nichols. I think that's what it was. I have been blessed to have a name of my own, but she has elevated to a point in her over 20 years of experience that would bring my story to another level. And so it was definitely something that I was challenged with, because although I've been doing it for a very long time as well, I know that this opportunity is taking everything to another level. So I don't want to say it was a challenge. It was more so of are you ready? Because this is what you were waiting on. So that's what that was.
If you choose today to go vegan after eating meat for 10 years, you are going to be afraid. Is the food going to taste good? Am I going to like it? Well, what if I fail? That's with anything new that you try. So recognize fear is always going to be there. Just make that decision to step over it.
Honestly, one of the most challenging parts of writing my story was some people, not everybody, because I thank God that I've healed from being a people pleaser. But there was this part of me that was concerned about how are specific people going to take it that I'm writing about this topic. I'd say the most significant trial that I've had to overcome. So I've now put that into writing. I'm excited about that.
Ooh, the healing is necessary. That if you have something that you need to talk out or go through or work through, that it's necessary and it's important for you to share. Now, a lot of people think that sharing has to be in a book. It doesn't have to be in a book. It doesn't have to be to 1 million people. You can share with one person and change their lives, and that was all that you were supposed to do. And so making sure that you understand that there are individuals in your own circle or individuals in the world or whoever, somebody you can be sitting next to on the bus, that it's your responsibility to help. But you can't do that unless you heal first. And so you won't be open to the nudge that maybe you might be feeling to say something or to ask a question, right? You won't be open to it unless you heal. And so healing is essential, and that's the beginning to your journey.
Oh man. The feedback I've received has been from a lot of single mothers who want to go back to school, but who are afraid because they don't have the support, because they do not have any objective plans. They don't know step 1. They don't know how to start, but all they have is that fear we just talked about. So the feedback that they give to me is that you have motivated me to go ahead and apply. I don't know how I'm going to make things work, but you've motivated me to apply for school. I've gotten emails, text messages. I've been accepted. I don't know what the next step is, but I'm just very proud of myself for doing that. And I'm proud of them too.
I'd say one of the most rewarding testimonies or feedback that I've received was from a woman who had to be about in her 70s, and she read my chapter after attending one of the events where I was the guest speaker. And she talked to me and told me that this chapter really spoke to the little girl inside of her, and that it was something that she needed to hear, because people even in her generation did not talk about certain things. You know, that's something that I've heard often. There's some things that you just don't talk about. But when I started my healing journey, in particular started with a therapist, one of the things she asked me is, who have you been able to talk to about this in your life? And I told her, nobody. That's why I'm with you. And she said, why is that? And I said, well, you know, I've learned that there's just some things you don't talk about, that I learned somewhere the unwritten, unspoken rule that you just don't talk about certain things, especially these types of things. And she looked at me for the 3rd time and she said, and why is that? And so I believe the message that she was sharing with me is that there's healing, there's power in being able to release your story.
Ooh. What kind of legacy do I want to leave behind with writing this? Yes.
It's a loaded question. For my legacy.
Mm-hmm.
See, I think my answer is probably going to be a little different, because my legacy will not be wrapped up in one book. It's no way. right? So my life is a legacy.
Step over fear. Crush fear's head. Let fear know that you are in charge. It may exist, but it does not overpower you, that you are the one who indeed has the true victory.
When the Lord calls me home, which every day everybody is going to get called, I hope to die old and empty. And I say that to people all the time. I want to die old and empty, meaning that nothing that he gave me to give is left. But I want to make sure that they know that I've given you all the wisdom. I've given you everything that I could possibly give. I have broken the generational curses that would have plagued you had I not healed. And I want you to keep going in knowing that you didn't have to deal with half the stuff that I did because I healed for you. And I want you to continue the legacy that I'm leaving you, which is strength, power, and resilience, and keep helping people and keep building and keep loving and keep doing all of that. So I'm gonna die old and empty, but it will not be just wrapped up in one book. You can find me, you can find me at 𝐿𝐴RobertsSpeaks.com. I am 𝐿A Roberts on all social media platforms. If you connect with me on social media, then we can meet, we can chop it up, and you can hug on me and I can hug on you.
They can find me on social media, Facebook and Instagram at 𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐼 Also, I am new to TikTok and loving it. So I am Toy Time, and the E is the number 3. My youngin taught me that on TikTok.
girlfriendshealth.com. And I'm also on Facebook, Dr. Anne-Marie Waite, and also on Instagram, girlfriends_health on Instagram. You know, I don't Instagram myself.
So you can find me at thequeeninme.com. You can email me at info@thequeeninme.com. On social media, I am The Queen in Me Girls, at The Queen in Me Girls. And you can also find me on Facebook at Shonda Smith. But I really would love to hear from you. I always respond. Can't wait to connect.